Hello, everyone. Welcome to the New Frontier Africa on CABS World Live Studios from Washington, D.C. I am AbdulRasheed Abubakar. On the show today, I have Ambassador Yusuf Joseph Bamba, an Ivorian career diplomat, was the former permanent representative of Cote d'Ivoire to the United Nations in New York until 2015. Ambassador Bamba is the Executive Secretary for Foreign Relations of the PDCI-RDA, the leading opposition party of Cote d'Ivoire. He was the ambassador of Cote d'Ivoire to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, Tokyo, Japan, New York at the UN, where he had 2 tours of duty, Washington, D.C., UK, and Vienna, Austria. Ambassador was also the permanent representative of Cote d'Ivoire to the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. Ambassador Bamba has held the position of Minister for International Cooperation in the Ivorian government between 1998 and 1999. Welcome, Ambassador Yusuf, to the show.
Thank you very much, AbdulRasheed, for having me.
Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. Ambassador, there have been several allegations that the just concluded Cote d'Ivoire election was marred by violence. What's your take on these allegations?
Thank you indeed for giving me the occasion to set the record straight. Because I came here in part of a campaign, advocacy campaign to seek the support of international community to prevent what was likely so obvious to everyone. I have to recall that Cote d'Ivoire experienced 10 years ago a severe post-electoral crisis, which claimed 3,000 deaths. And we knew the way things were evolving. All indicators pointed to a major crisis will happen. And in a spirit of prevention, we came here to try to support, seek support for the international community involvement to help Cote d'Ivoire to defuse that crisis coming in. And indeed, our efforts didn't pay off because despite all the warnings we have expressed, Mr. Ouattara, the incumbent president, went on in his plan to forcibly pass to have a third term, which is absolutely unconstitutional because Cote d'Ivoire Constitution in its Article 55 forbids any third term because the term limit of presidential mandate is limited to 2. And this prompts a lot of problem because actually Mr. Ouattara reversed his decision because in the first place he said he wouldn't run for a third term because he poised to respect the Constitution, yes.
Ambassador, yes, I will come to that. The International Election Observation Mission, the IEOM, in Cote d'Ivoire 2 days ago, issued a boycott for the election, but the election had already been conducted on the 31st of October. And I have also, several statements. Why putting out this statement so late after the election?
No, let me put it that way. Actually, what is at stake, what is very important, the heart of the matter was the respect of the Constitution. Actually, the entrenchment of our countries in democracy, culture of democracy, and the rule of law. That's what is really matters. And from the start, we have started to flag that, to say it's important to have free, fair, and inclusive and
Election.
peaceful election. Those conditions should be met in the first place before. That's what democracy is about. And we have a young democracy. We have fought hard to have gain, substantive gain. We would not sit down and doing nothing and to have all this effort be wasted. That's the reason where the opposition have asked to the postponement of this election to permit to, in a concerted manner, to sort things out and to be able to go to fair, credible, inclusive, and peaceful and transparent election.
Let us talk a little bit about the legality of the election itself, you know, because like you said, you know, I have also read on the newspaper and I've seen the statement by President Alassane Ouattara, where he said he was now going to seek for re-election up until August, when the former prime minister passed on and he decided to come back in the game. So up until August, the constitution clearly, as you said, states that there will be no third term for a president. Because I think that was part of the problems with former president Laurent Gbagbo, because he seek, after spending almost 10 years seeking to change the constitution to run for another term. Was that not the...
No, let me respectfully correct that.
Okay.
The President Gbagbo, the problem wasn't the third term. The problem was the outcome of the election.
Okay.
So, but everything, that's what we are, our point is very relevant, because we're talking about the rule of law, the respect of the law, all the provision of our constitution and the electoral code. You have to go by the book. Right now, as we speak in the United States, you are witnessing the rule of law playing, because everything is by the book. Why would you that in the United States, in France, in Ghana, for instance, in Nigeria, they go by the book? The constitution is observed, is respected, and in Cote d'Ivoire, we will turn a blind eye on that. That's not acceptable. And people try to distract from the real problem. And doing so, that's why we have those recurrent electoral-related crises. And that means loss of life. People are dying. And we have come to maturity, people. And the young are really demanding things. They want things be right. And they could not be taken hostage by those politicians who are tempering the constitution, changing things. And besides, our regional bodies like ECOWAS and African Union has embodied in their charters very strict protocol with respect to the conduct of free, fair, transparent election. Everything was there. It was easy just to look at them and the way things are conducted on the ground, and to redress things where it should be. That
why, Ambassador, what would you say to the ECOWAS and the African Union right now, because they turn their blind eye to what is going on in Cote d'Ivoire? What would you say to them?
I would say to them to be responsible, because they have sworn oath of office. They have sworn to conduct a business in the strict respect of the provision of the charters. That's what it's about. And I would like to point out, actually, the institutions themselves are not in question, but unfortunately, it was certain people who are running those institutions who have the problem, who create the problem. Because the same very institution, ECOWAS and African Union, has dealt with the Ivorian crisis, and things were conducted by the book. It was based on a resolution from the Peace and Security Council of African Union that the United Nations has taken resolution 1975 to conduct the attack against Zimbabwe. Why now Mr. Ouattara is violating bluntly the Ivorian constitution, and they are turning blind eyes on that? That's very questionable. And we African people, African countries, and African population, we demand democracy should be upheld. The rule of law should be entrenched in our constitution because it's a right, a fundamental right. It's not negotiable. And besides, if we let the Ivorian cases go unchallenged, that will open the way widely for African dictator to install themselves in life presidency system. And this is very bad for Africa.
Right. You are very correct. You are very correct. If situations like this go unchallenged, it will create more problem for African country. But Ambassador, let's look at certain situations, right? Based on your observation, the just concluded election, you believe that it wasn't fair, based on your observation?
It was a phony election, my brother. It was phony election. Nothing happened. You could have video of electoral officer ticking the ballot and stuffing the boxes. Come on, have a little respect for Africa. We deserve more better than that. And that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. And we said, as the 21st century, at the age of internet, and the people of Africa, the population composed of majority from the youth, they are demanding some respect. They are demanding, if you will, some transparency. And only a condition, a setting of democracy and rule of law will enable the condition for those youth to have the opportunity to unleash the potential.
Okay, give me a sense of what is going on in Cote d'Ivoire as we speak.
Today, of course, the opposition doesn't recognize the legitimacy of Mr. Ouattara. This election wasn't an election. It was a phony election. It was fake. It was everything but an election. So based on that, the opposition has established a national transitional council, and of course we are.
I saw that. I saw that also in the from my research that the opposition have created a transitional government. What? Tell me more about this transitional government. What does that entail?
Yes, because we said actually before the election, where was some diplomatic shuttle, the ECOWAS, the African Union, we have expressed that. We said, given the situation, we couldn't possibly meet the condition to have a proper election. So why not to postpone the election and to go on discussion and to find a common ground to hold those inclusive, fair, and legitimate election.
Right.
But the government didn't accept and wanted to go on its plan to forcibly pass in a rigged election.
So
I have more to say about this condition of this election.
So the people from the other party, they refuse to agree.
The ruling party,
the ruling party,
is the government in place.
Yeah, yes. So they refuse to listen.
Totally, yes.
To agree with the people. So now that your party have created this transitional government, and from what I've researched, your party will be going ahead to declare that the office of the president is vacant at this moment.
Because we have, after noticing, based on the provision of our constitution, there is a vacancy of the presidency. Of course, for us, is the consequence, the aftermath of what happened. And by reading the rules, the presidency should be considered vacant. So we have to fill that vacancy. That we have set up that traditional government council. You say council is an invitation for all the layer of the society to address the root cause of the problem and to find common ground. But instead, and quite the contrary, the government go on to, in the dictatorial spirit, to arrest people. Most of the leadership of the opposition is being arrested or under house of arrest, and they keep on harassing, intimidating, even conducted some assassination, abduction, extrajudicial arrest, things like that, which they have done over the past 2 years. Actually, today, what happened today is a culmination of what they have started 2 years ago. And
I witnessed, some serious, things while I was in Cote d'Ivoire. Back then, I think in 2000 and that was in 2005. Between 2005 and 2008, all the way to 2010, I was covering some event in Cote d'Ivoire, and I traveled across the region, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, Burkina Faso, travel back and forth. I would not, want to see any bloodshed or any form of crisis in Cote d'Ivoire because of the past experience. So, looking at what is going on right now, do you think it will cause chaos, or do you think it will reverse the democracy, the Ivory Coast democracy backwards?
Definitely. That's what is happening, and that's the risk. We wouldn't accept that, because, as I said, we have fought very hard to gain our democracy where we are, and we want to go backwards. But what is more concerning is the risk of civil war, who could be relapsing due to that decision of Mr. Ouattara to run, to cling to power, although his term has been completed. That's what's the risk. Why? Because the opposition has only one way to express, is through demonstration. But unfortunately, those demonstrations are brutally repressed, savagely repressed, and is like mafia style. They has instrumentalized young thugs who are ferried on the site of the demonstration by the police, and they get into the demonstration, and they starting slashing people with machetes and cutting weapons, chain, and to disrupt the demonstration. That the police is watching. This has been documented and reported by Amnesty International back to August this year. And it's commonplace. And what today, the death toll is 100 people dead. Starting from August until now, we have 100 people dead, 1,000 injured, and a score of people arrested.
Okay, so I think we have to take a break. Now, when we come back, we'll continue the discussion on Cote d'Ivoire democracy and 2020 election with Ambassador Joseph Bamba. Thank you, Ambassador. Welcome to the New Frontier Africa. I am AbdulRasheed Abubakar. On the show today, I'll be talking about Cote d'Ivoire democracy and 2020 election. Joining me in the studio to talk about this subject, I have Ambassador Joseph Bamba. Welcome, Ambassador.
Thank you, AbdulRasheed.
Yes, so Ambassador, I want to talk more about the International Election Observer. I want to talk more about their uh, report on the just concluded election, and I will want you to tell me how you. So they they talk about 44 candidates were disqualified without being entitled to an effective remedy as a decision rejecting their candidacy was final. So 44 candidates were supposed to participate in the election, in the just concluded election, but they were rejected. What do you think about this?
Yes, indeed, Rashid. This is again the same problem, the same issue, which is at the heart of this crisis. That's the respect the rule of law. So, because everything should be done by the book. So the candidacy has been presented. They should be examined, but in the light of the provision of the Constitution and the Electoral Code. The report has rightly put it. There's been rejected without any legal basis, nor have they been substantiated by any legal basis, and nor has been provided any remedy. Because in the rule of law, you have the right of recourse. They don't have that. But more of that, you have meaningful political figures like former President Laurent Gbagbo, who has been acquitted under the trial at the International Criminal Court. The former Speaker of the House, Mr. Soro Guillaume, who have is a strong political figure, and many more, whose candidacy has been rejected, and without any legal basis, and that is not acceptable, and that as planting the seeds for violence and instability. That's what they have done. That's one thing.
So, Ambassador, based on reports, it was stated that both COVID-19 pandemic and the state of emergency were used as the basis for amending the electoral code. So, between the electoral code and the constitution itself, which one is more superior?
This is a constitution.
The constitution.
But nevertheless, they are coherent. They are not contradictory.
Okay.
They are reinforcing each other.
Okay.
That's the meaning of the rule of law and if you will, the architecture of the legal corpus in the country. And that's a call to be respected, to be helped. But I would like to raise an issue very interesting in this regard. The African Court on Human Rights and People have issued a ruling, of course, in response to lawsuits filed by the opposition with respect to the impartiality and the neutrality or the balance of the electoral body, the electoral commission. And the ruling has ordered the state of Cote d'Ivoire to take all necessary measures to make that this, and before any election, that this electoral body be balanced, be in a position to conduct free, fair, transparent, and acceptable, inclusive election. The government has not hit to that, has not complied with. That's one thing. A second, third ruling was concerning the reinstatement of Mr. Gbagbo and Mr. Soro on the electoral list, and then to permit, take all necessary measures to permit them to compete in the presidential election. Those two, the government has not complied with.
Based on the report, right? The report also stated that Mr. President Alassane Ouattara and Conan Barton campaigned they were the only candidates. These two figures, were the only candidate for the last general election in Ivory Coast.
He's a made-up candidate, just to give the impression that's the election. No, it wasn't credible at all.
It wasn't credible. It was incredible. Okay, so let us move forward. Let us move forward now that you've mentioned African Court of Human and People's Rights. Yes. And also you have. So, what are the measures? What are the steps that the opposition parties now? What are the steps what step are they taking to bring peace? Because Cote d'Ivoire, the most important thing that all Ivoirians all over the world, home and abroad, should be working towards is peaceful country. It's a peaceful country, to have a peaceful country. Mm-hmm. So what are the things that your party are doing to support a peaceful transition process?
Actually, we are for the peaceful transition. We are for the respect of the law and we have abiding citizen. And but the only problem is Mr. Ouattara, who is on a dictatorial drift on the country. He imposes a heavy tight grip on the country, and he refused any openness whatsoever to make the country livable peacefully. And fortunately, everything is documented. That's so obvious. And what we are seeking is to rally the international community to put some pressure on him so that he enter in the legality. He has no legitimacy whatsoever. Of course, we are entering now in a political process, but the political process means he has to acknowledge the reality, and he could start this political process. What he refused totally, he said, no, you have to suppress the TNC, the NTC, National Transitional Council, and you have to accept that nothing has happened and go back to your home, everything's okay. No, that couldn't be like that. And if you refuse, you are arrested, you are jailed, you are harassed, and every oppression has put on us because of that. So the population continue to demonstrate. We have launched a watchword of civil disobedience. It's still on. It's still on. And this is not the condition to have peace in a country. The problem is created by Mr. Ouattara. The violence is triggered by Mr. Ouattara because he's the one, his party launches his herd of a young thug to create havoc. It's not the opposition who do that.
Ambassador, let's talk a little bit before I let you go. Let's talk a little bit more about the participation of people in the election. Based on your own view, based on your view, and the looking at the previous elections in Cote d'Ivoire and the just concluded election, what is your take?
I would say, without any hesitation, this what we call election as the most shameful election and is an insult to the people of Cote d'Ivoire, an insult to us, an insult to our dignity, and this will go down history as the worst president we have ever had in our country, because that's quite unimaginable. And particularly given the fact that this man has a background of international civil servants at the IMF. He has been educated in the United States, has been nurtured in the culture of democracy, and going back in his country, in his continent, is acting like that. It could be only one word: shameful. That's what I could say.
To all Ivorian in the diaspora and back home, what message would you like to say to them?
My message is to the fight continue, because if people, we have the right side of history. You have the Nazi Germany, what happened? You have the French has been taken. Even Africa, all the fight for colonial, for the freedom, liberation. You have the apartheid in South Africa, Mandela has given whatever it takes, and he has liberated his country from the scourge of apartheid. This is the same. That's the same rationale. That going on in history back in a memorial time, and will continue again. Democracy should be defended, should be protected at all costs. We won't be distracted by all the, if you will, issue, things like sharing of power. It's not that about. We want to keep on to insult the dignity of our people. We're talking about respect the law. You have to enter in democracy in our society. You have to obey to the law. Nobody is above the law. And the rule of law is important, is the heart of democracy. Africa there is no double standard in democracy. Democracy is one universal value, and it should be reinforced. It should not be weakened. And we have to pay, we are fighting, we have to be ready to pay the price for that. But we do that, is our part for the future generation.
Rule of law must be respected and must be strengthened all over the world. Thank you so much, Ambassador Yusuf Joseph Bamba, for the thoughtful insight on democracy, on Cote d'Ivoire democracy and 2020 election. We'll continue to talk to you more in future on the progress of Cote d'Ivoire democracy. Thank you so much, Ambassador. To everyone watching all around the world, thank you so much for watching the show. Until we meet again, my name is AbdulRasheed Abubakar. Have a blessed day. Bye.
Thank you, AbdulRasheed, and thank you for having me.
Yes,
Appreciate
bye bye.